Liam Carter was born in a small rust-colored town in the Midwest, where the streets were cracked and the houses leaned on tired foundations. His father worked long hours at a local factory, operating noisy machines that whined like mechanical beasts. His mother stayed home, sewing and mending clothes for neighbors to keep the bills paid. Money was always tight. Bills stacked on the counter, the fridge was often half empty, and dreams larger than their small home seemed almost impossible. From a young age, Liam had a spark that his family didn't fully understand. While other kids were playing video games or watching cartoons, Liam was tearing apart old gadgets, trying to figure out how they worked. He loved taking broken radios, calculators, and early model computers apart, then fixing them, and sometimes selling them for a few dollars. He wasn't doing it for the money alone. It was the thrill of creation, the satisfaction of solving problems, and the tiny sense of control in a world that often felt limited. School was a struggle. Liam wasn't the kind of student who sat still for hours listening to lectures. He wasn't bad, just restless, always thinking ahead. Teachers scolded him for doodling schematics in the margins of notebooks instead of writing essays. But Liam was learning something school could never teach: observation, experimentation, and perseverance. By the time he was 16, he had a small side hustle. He collected old phones and computers from neighbors and refurbished them in his bedroom. Slowly, word spread. A neighbor would say, "Liam fixed my old laptop and it works better than new." And just like that, he began building a reputation in his small town. But Liam didn't want a tiny corner of a forgotten place. He wanted the world. When he turned 18, he made a bold decision: leave home. With a small bag of clothes, his toolbox, and a notebook full of ideas, he boarded a bus to New York City. The city was loud, overwhelming, and unforgiving, but it was also full of possibilities. Liam rented a tiny bed in a crowded hostel, worked odd jobs at coffee shops and electronics stores, and spent every free hour learning. He devoured tutorials on YouTube, read books about business and startups, and experimented late into the night, turning hostel rooms into makeshift labs. One evening, while walking past a busy street lined with shops and flashing neon signs, he noticed something that would change everything. People were constantly upgrading their phones and laptops, tossing old devices like yesterday's trash. No one was fixing them. No one was giving them a second life. That's when Liam had an idea, one that would soon become his path out of poverty. He would start a business that repaired, restored, and sold old electronics. A business that wasn't just about profit, but about giving old gadgets a chance to shine again. He didn't have investors, fancy offices, or connections. All he had was determination, a toolbox, and a restless mind that refused to settle for mediocrity. The streets of New York were daunting, the nights cold and lonely, but Liam felt alive in a way he never had before. He was poor, yes, but in his chest burned a fire that money could never buy. And in that fire lay the first spark of a dream that one day would take him from rust to riches. After months of saving every penny from odd jobs, Liam finally managed to rent a tiny space in a rundown part of New York. The sign above the door read, "Tech Revive," hand-painted in uneven letters. Inside, it smelled of dust, solder, and hope. The shelves were bare except for a few refurbished laptops, old smartphones, and stacks of circuit boards. Liam didn't have flashy equipment or expensive marketing. All he had was skill, determination, and a notebook full of plans. The first few weeks were brutal. Most days the door remained closed and Liam spent hours fixing gadgets with no customers in sight. Occasionally, a passerby would peek inside and shake their head, muttering, "Kid, good luck." The words stung, but they also lit a fire inside him. Every failure became a lesson. Which repairs sold best, which devices were easiest to refurbish, and how to negotiate with customers. Liam quickly realized that skill alone wasn't enough. People needed to know he existed. So he started experimenting with social media. He posted videos of himself repairing gadgets, showing step-by-step how old phones and laptops could come back to life. The first videos barely got views, but he didn't stop. He learned about hashtags, online communities, and forums where people discussed tech. Slowly, interest grew. Then came the first big break. A local tech blogger stumbled upon one of his videos and shared it on their platform. Overnight, people started messaging him, asking if he could fix their devices. Liam stayed up all night fulfilling orders, sometimes skipping meals, sometimes sleeping on the cold floor of his tiny shop. Every repair he made wasn't just a transaction. It was proof that he could do this, that he could survive and thrive. But success was fragile. One afternoon, a batch of refurbished laptops he sold malfunctioned. A harsh review went online, calling him untrustworthy and inexperienced. Liam felt like the walls of his small dream were collapsing. For a moment, he considered giving up, going back home, and accepting a life of mediocrity. But something inside him refused. He took the criticism seriously, reworked his process, and personally contacted every unhappy customer to make it right. By fixing his mistakes, he built loyalty, and slowly, the negative review turned into a story of redemption. Months passed. Liam learned to balance repair work with business growth. He created a small online store, started buying broken electronics in bulk, and trained a couple of assistants. Tech Revive wasn't just a shop anymore, it was becoming a brand. People started recognizing him in the neighborhood. The kid who brings old gadgets back to life, they would say, smiling with surprise. Yet, even as the business grew, Liam never forgot where he came from. He lived frugally, saving every dollar for reinvestment. Most nights, he stayed up studying business strategies, reading about famous entrepreneurs, and dreaming of the day when he could take Tech Revive beyond the cramped streets of New York. By the end of the first year, Liam had learned a valuable lesson. Talent might open a door, but perseverance and adaptability are what keep it open. He was still poor in terms of money, but rich in experience, skill, and vision. And deep down, he knew that the next year would be the one that defined whether his small spark would ignite into a fire capable of changing his life forever. By the beginning of the second year, Tech Revive had gained a small but loyal customer base. Liam had learned every lesson the hard way: how to fix devices faster, manage inventory, and build trust. Yet the streets of New York were unforgiving. Competitors were everywhere. Big chain repair shops with glossy signs, flashy ads, and deep pockets. It was easy for a small shop like Liam's to be overlooked. But Liam had something the chains didn't: authenticity. People remembered his name. They trusted him because he treated every gadget and every customer like it mattered. Slowly, word of mouth began spreading. One satisfied customer would recommend him to a friend, and that friend would bring another device. The snowball of trust was growing, and with it, Liam's confidence. Around mid-year, Liam stumbled upon a golden opportunity. A startup tech company needed someone to refurbish hundreds of old laptops for their new employees, but at a low cost and within a tight deadline. Liam knew it was risky. If he succeeded, it could put his small shop on the map. If he failed, he'd lose money he didn't have. After sleepless nights weighing pros and cons, he said yes. The next 2 months were grueling. Liam and his small team worked dawn to midnight, taking apart laptops, replacing broken parts, upgrading systems, and testing each device. Mistakes were costly, but they learned fast. When the delivery day came, every single laptop was ready and functional. The startup was thrilled, and the story of Liam's dedication quickly spread within local tech circles. This project brought Liam more than just recognition, it brought revenue. With the profits, he rented a larger space, bought better equipment, and hired 2 full-time assistants. Tech Revive was no longer a one-man operation. It was a growing company with a mission. Liam still worked hands-on, repairing devices, teaching his team, and ensuring every customer felt valued. Competition grew harsher. Larger chains tried to undercut his prices, spread rumors, and lure customers away. But Liam had learned resilience. He focused on quality, personal service, and community. He started hosting free workshops for local kids, teaching them basic tech repair skills. This not only strengthened the community, but also built a positive reputation that no chain could buy. By the end of the second year, Liam had his first real financial breakthrough. For the first time, he could pay himself a salary that wasn't barely enough to survive. He could invest in marketing, a professional website, and even start planning expansion into other neighborhoods. More importantly, Liam realized that success wasn't just about money. It was about creating value, building trust, and turning setbacks into lessons. The boy who once repaired gadgets in a cramped hostel room was no longer just surviving. He was thriving. And though the road ahead was still long and full of challenges, Liam Carter now knew that he had the skills, determination, and vision to rise even higher. By the fourth year, Tech Revive had grown from a small shop into a recognizable brand in New York. Liam had expanded into multiple neighborhoods, hired a dedicated team, and created a workflow that allowed the business to scale without losing quality. Yet, even as he tasted success, he never lost the humility that had driven him from a dusty small town to the bustling streets of the city. The real turning point came when Liam decided to expand nationally. He approached investors with a clear vision, refurbishing old electronics, reducing e-waste, and creating affordable tech solutions for students and low-income families. Some laughed, others walked away, but a few saw the passion, the persistence, and the proof that Liam's model worked. With their backing, Tech Revive opened branches in major cities, Chicago, Los Angeles, and San Francisco. Revenue skyrocketed. Liam, once struggling to pay his rent, became a millionaire before turning 30. Yet, money was never his ultimate goal. It was freedom, opportunity, and the ability to make an impact. He launched initiatives to train underprivileged youth in technology, offering scholarships and apprenticeships. He partnered with schools to provide refurbished laptops to students who couldn't afford them, ensuring they had the tools to chase their own dreams. Success brought challenges. Managing a national brand meant endless decisions, high-pressure meetings, and competition from larger corporations who wanted to dominate the same market. But Liam thrived under pressure. He had faced scarcity, failure, and doubt. A boardroom full of executives was nothing compared to those nights spent repairing gadgets on a hostel floor with an empty stomach. Over the years, Tech Revive became more than a company. It became a movement. Liam was invited to speak at conferences, featured in magazines, and recognized for his innovative approach to tech sustainability. Yet, he remained grounded. He still visited small branches personally, spoke with employees, and ensured the company never lost its core values: quality, trust, and community. Looking back, Liam understood that his journey from poverty to wealth wasn't just about repairing gadgets, it was about repairing possibilities. He had turned his curiosity and persistence into a career, his failures into lessons, and his small dream into an empire. The boy who once wandered New York's streets with only a toolbox and a notebook was now a symbol of hope. Not just because he became rich, but because he proved that with vision, resilience, and heart, anyone could rise above their circumstances. Liam Carter didn't just achieve financial success, he built a legacy. And every time he walked into a classroom full of eager students or opened a refurbished laptop for a child who couldn't afford one, he smiled. Not at the money he'd earned, but at the lives he could touch, and the reminder that his journey, from rust to riches, was just the beginning of something far bigger.